Once upon a time, in a kingdom that woke each morning to sunshine and song, a wish came true. A king and queen, gentle and good, longed for a child. At last a daughter arrived with cheeks like rose petals and eyes bright as dawn. They named her Briar Rose. There was feasting, music, and all the good fairies of the realm were invited to bless the child. All but one. You see, there were 13 fairies and only 12 golden plates on the table. A small mistake, a big ripple, and the story of a lifetime began to turn like a page in a favorite book. The celebration glittered. One by one, 12 fairies stepped forward, sprinkling gifts like warm rain. "Grace," said one. "Kindness," said another. "Wisdom," said a third. "Beauty, music, courage, laughter, gentleness, patience, wonder, good sense." But before the 12th fairy could speak, a chill swept the room. The great doors blew open, and in came the 13th fairy, forgotten and hurt, her eyes bright with stormlight. "So I was not invited," she said, a voice like wind through thorns. "Very well. On her 15th birthday, the princess shall prick her finger on a spindle and die." Gasps fluttered like startled birds. In that heartbeat, the 12th fairy stepped forward, steady as a lantern. "I cannot undo the spell," she said softly, "but I can soften it. The princess will not die. She will sleep for 100 years, and true love will wake her." Horrified, the king ordered every spinning wheel in the kingdom destroyed. Wheels were carried away, their wooden legs wobbling like indignant geese. Still, time flows how time wishes. Briar Rose grew not only beautiful, but curious, quick-witted, and warm. She learned the names of the kitchen cat and the smallest sparrow. She asked questions that began with why and ended in laughter. She practiced kindness like a craft, shaping it every day. On the morning she turned 15, the castle felt different, as if holding its breath. Briar Rose wandered, humming a tune she couldn't remember learning. Down long corridors she had never explored, and up a spiral staircase she had never seen, she climbed. Up and up, the steps curling like a seashell, until she reached a tiny round room at the top of the tower. Inside, an old woman sat beside a spinning wheel, feet tapping, fingers dancing. "Would you like to try, dear?" the old woman asked, voice gentle as woven wool. Briar Rose hesitated, curious and brave in equal measure. "I've never seen one up close," she admitted. "How does it sing?" She reached out, the spindle gleamed, and at the brush of her fingertip, she sank softly to the floor, like a falling petal, her lashes casting crescent shadows. The spell breathed out across the castle. The king dozed mid-sigh. The queen's hands stilled in surprise, and then folded in peaceful sleep. Maids paused with dusters raised. Guards leaned on spears that politely refused to clatter, and even the kitchen cat curled tighter, as if someone had whispered, "Hush now." Outside, a forest of thorns sprang up, not cruel, but determined, weaving a protective hedge thick and high, twined so no one could pass. The castle slept. Time wrapped it like a blanket and set it gently aside. 100 years turned like a slow wheel. Stories wandered across valleys and markets. People spoke of a sleeping beauty hidden beyond a wall of thorns, of a castle pausing in a single breath. Many tried to find her, but the thorns sighed, "Not yet," and sent them home with leaves in their hair and a new respect for maps. One day, a young prince heard the tale. He wasn't the loudest in the room or the flashiest in armor, but the story stirred something steady in him. Perhaps it was the thought of a promise kept across a century. Perhaps it was the simple wish to help the world finish a sentence it had started too long ago. He set out with hope, a good horse, and a heart that listened. At the edge of the thorn forest he stopped, touched a leaf, and said, "I will be gentle." The brambles tilted their heads, if brambles have heads, and parted like curtains. It seemed the moment had finally arrived. He walked a winding path that had been waiting for his footsteps. Birds slept in mid-song. A baker napped beside loaves that still smelled warm, and a hound snored with one ear perked, as if hearing a dream. The prince climbed the castle steps, passed the still guards, and entered the tower room where Briar Rose lay, peaceful as morning. He knelt beside her and, with careful reverence, kissed her hand. The touch was light as a promise. Briar Rose stirred. Her eyes opened, dawn bright. "Did you wake me?" she whispered, as if speaking too loudly might break the moment. "It seems I did," he said, and then, surprised at the calm in his own voice, added, "I came through thorns and 100 stories, not knowing what was true, only hoping I might find you safe." Briar Rose sat up, feeling the world tilt toward her like a flower to sun. In the quiet, she felt a strange certainty, as if she had heard his footsteps for a long time in a hallway of dreams. The air felt golden, warm, and new. Time, which had been holding its breath, exhaled. "I have been asleep so long," she said, "but I think I was listening the whole time. Perhaps I was learning to trust what I could not see." She smiled then, a smile that made the room brighter. "Thank you for arriving kindly." The castle woke like a yawn that turned into a laugh. The king stretched and blinked. The queen clasped her hands, then her daughter. Cooks stirred pots and argued cheerfully about whether the soup had over-rested. Birds tried again at their song and found it sweeter than before. Outside, the thorns loosened, then quietly learned to become roses. Briar Rose gazed around, not just at the prince, but at the world newly stirred. "Shall we walk?" she asked. "There is much to see." They walked through sunlit halls together, their steps paired, laughter echoing softly, and met the kingdom as if meeting a friend returned from far away. Not long after, in a celebration full of joy and second chances, they were wed. Bells rang until the clouds hummed. Banners lifted high. People danced, telling and retelling the story that had waited 100 years to finish its dance. The prince spoke words that felt like a spell made of hope. I waited through silence, through stories and storms, for the one moment when the world would change. Now here you stand, a dream once asleep, bright in the light, a promise we both choose to keep. I followed the quiet thread of your voice through the shadows, and now we choose together. Briar Rose answered with a hand in his. Let the morning come. Let the stars write our names in time. From 100 years to a single gentle kiss, everything turned toward this. We were written in turning leaves and in dreams that dared to wait and believe. Now love goes forward, not alone. In this place we will make our home. The bells rang again, as if they too had waited a century. The sky unfolded like a storybook page. The floors, once dusty with paused time, shone. The spell was undone, and the tale of the heart had only begun. So the kingdom flourished once more, not only because the curse had lifted, but because everyone remembered what it felt like to be woken kindly. And Briar Rose, once cursed to sleep for 100 years, awoke not only to love, but to a world reborn. And they lived, as all good fairy tales promise, happily ever after. Kindness invites kindness. Even a small forgetfulness can grow into a thorny problem, yet a softer answer can change its ending. Curiosity needs care, but it also leads to towers where truths are found. Time may bend the long way around, but true love in this tale is a gentle, brave choice that wakes not just one heart, but a whole kingdom. And forgiveness, even unspoken, turns thorns into roses. May you remember that courage can be quiet and steady, that goodness grows brighter when it is shared, and that your choices, however small, can lift the spell on someone's day. Believe that right moments arrive, that patience is a kind of magic, and that there is always a path that parts for gentle feet. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new tales each week. This video is created for entertainment and educational storytelling purposes and is not a substitute for professional advice.